This is a huge, exciting day on the Meredith Show. I am thrilled to introduce to you my dear friend, Ana Larrea-Albert. She is an author and a speaker, and today she is going to share a little bit about Beyond Enough. And I am so honored to promote this book and share it with the world with you. And I am really excited for people to get to know you. You are welcome, Ana. Thank you so much for being with us. You're coming to us from Florida.
Yes, Wellington, Florida, horse country. And thank you so much, Meredith, for having me on your show. I admired you since the moment I met you. Your shine, your personality, it just comes through. It fills the room, and it's an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
Well, I have to say, we got to meet, for people who are just learning about us, back in a very big conference for professional speakers at the National Speakers Association's event, Influence. And you are an influencer to me, and you are an inspiration to me, because I've wanted to write a book my whole life, and you have just done it. I love that you are full speed ahead, and you have a big passion for leadership. And I think it would be lovely if you could share with people at home who are watching today. I mean, you don't just have a passion for leadership, you teach it, you speak about it on the circuit across the country, and the world gets to hear your message. And you're a founder of a leadership institute. So tell us a little bit about that so people know who they're seeing.
Thank you, Meredith. Yes, so leadership and leadership development has been in my orbit for well over a decade, although it wasn't my focus. So 20 plus years in business, in a corporate career, the last third of that as an executive, a VP of marketing and customer experience for a European company. But the executive coaching, I actually received executive coaching many, many years ago. It was so transformational that I became a certified executive leadership coach and started coaching pro bono, mentoring, just reaching out, seeing how I could help, and falling in love with that transformation that I could see through my efforts with other people, especially professionals. And for many years, I had that passion growing and growing, to the point that in 2019, it became so strong that I decided to quit my job and go and get a second master's degree at the Harvard Kennedy School, studying under Ronald Heifetz, one of the leaders of adaptive leadership. And I decided that's a calling. It was pulling me too strong. I didn't know what I was going to do at the end of that master's degree, but I knew that's where life was taking me. So now I find myself a few years after graduation with teaching an adjunct professor at Florida Atlantic University of Leadership and Organization. So very much my cup of tea. As speaking, like you said, on leadership and change and transformation and mindset, writing a book, Beyond Enough, the high performer's path to confident leadership, and just living that experience. I'm also, the Institute of Leadership and Culture, I have a program called the Confident Leader Lab. That's my coaching program. So I'm very much living and breathing this concept of leadership development.
I have to say, I compliment you, because as I have coached, just like you, thousands of people through the years, it's always the leadership that takes you down or lifts you up. It's a choice. And so I love that you named your book Beyond Enough, because imposter syndrome is such a hot subject for so many. And you have a unique perspective on that. So tell us your thoughts.
I do, Meredith. So my thought is that we're thinking about imposter syndrome all wrong. That what we actually need to do is have better conversations with ourselves. So I'm going to say the main three messages that I want to share with the book are just starting with self-compassion, right? Especially for us, like you as well, Meredith, high performers with perfectionist tendencies. We tend to create these enormous expectations that sometimes are crushing. And if we don't reach what we were looking to reach, what the goals that we were looking to accomplish, we tend to stop feeling adequate, or we have those moments of, what am I doing? Who do I think I am? looking, dreaming this big. So starting with that self-compassion of saying we're human and we can accomplish plenty, but looking at ourselves with that, just, that connection to ourselves, just being okay with who we are. The other message is self-awareness, and across the board. So emotional self-awareness, if you think about emotional intelligence, the awareness, the regulation of those emotions, and then how you can manage relationships when you become aware of other people's emotions. Awareness of our mindsets, even our physical awareness, Meredith. How many times have we felt hangry and
All the time. Sorry.
and many of our relationships, even with ourselves, have not been the way we wanted them to be, just because of where we were before or after feeding ourselves or our meal, right? There's actually a very cool study about that called the hungry judge effect. And the third message is that there's a promise of change. So looking at neuroscience and neuroplasticity, the power that we have in our brains to develop, I think it allows us, it empowers us, it gives us agency to make the changes we want to make to get to where we want to go. So it's really those three things that encompass what I want to get through with this book.
I love it. And I have to tell people at home, we work together because we're also fellow speakers that have similar tracks of I would say, inspiration and aspiration. And what I love to share is not only practice what you preach, as you said, like I can give an example. I was a little freaked and stretched over giving one of the longest keynotes I've ever done. And what I love so very much is I literally consulted with a ton of professional speaker friends. And you were the one who said, I think you're looking at this wrong. Perspective is everything. You said, you have an abundant amount of time. Like you can do multiple exercises. And I love the interactive opportunities that you allowed me to see when I totally shifted my perspective. And it was literally so much fun. And I thank you for reminding me, we all have our moments. And it really speaks into what I just said. We take ourselves down. Like who am I to fill 2.5 hours? Like, how is that going to work? It felt heavy for a minute. And then when I did it, I was like, whoa, we're out of time. That's it. Because I had to shift myself. But that's the gift I think that you give in this book is that, yeah, like, and I want to know what inspired it, because for many reasons, we talked about some of the main messages, but has this come up for you personally? And I know for sure I have pushed myself beyond what I thought was possible time and time again. And it's with the help of friends, but it takes confidence and even finding your confidence, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for sure, one of the reasons I actually like this message very much, that your test is your testament or your mess is your message. I can speak of this because of the struggles that I've had with confidence in leadership. So I'm living my truth, I'm living my message, and I am actually using all of the tools and the frameworks every time I'm facing these questions. I like to call them questionable questions instead of self-doubt or inner critic or negative self-talk, because I want to remove that negativity, that load, that what we're doing is wrong and that we should feel bad about coming up with these questions. And it's really, like I mentioned at the beginning, we just need to have better conversations. And how do we reframe them? So in a similar way as the exercise you just mentioned, how do we change the perspective of that question that we're asking ourselves? So in my case, I am going through that since I started writing this book, which is back in November, thinking, who could possibly want to read what I'm writing? Right. And I know logically it doesn't make sense, but that's something that's coming up. So what I do is that I use my 3 building blocks of leadership, which is the structure of the book, which are values, mindsets, and strengths. So I go back to, what do I stand for in terms of my values? What is my purpose? What's more important than this doubt that I'm feeling right now about who's going to read my book. More important to me is that this book, this message will reach that one person, one individual on the other side of this exercise, and it will be what they needed to hear at that moment to gain confidence in themselves. So when I think about that other person with a smile on their face, or just their eyes or their expression of, "Ah, that's exactly what I needed at this moment," kind of like what we experienced in our exercise.
Yes.
That's my purpose. That's what's grounding me when I have these questions. And then I think about the mindset, and something really, my favorite mindset analogy is the fly and the bee, right? So my question is always, are you, let's say, the mindset of a fly, but I like to make it a little more personal. Are you a fly who, no matter how beautiful the environment is, the garden, all the flowers, sunny day, always manages to find, let's call it the excrement?
Mm.
Or do you have the mindset, or are you a bee who, no matter how barren a place is or how doomy and gloomy a day is, always manages to find a flower and
Mm.
then do what they got to do to come back to the hive, produce the most delicious honey? So that's what I try to catch myself on. That kind of question feels like a fly kind of question, right? I'm on fly mode. How
Mm.
do I switch into bee mode? How do I switch my perspective to make sure that what is going through what I'm doing has this purpose? And then when I think about the third building block, which is the strengths, I go back to, I know what my strengths are. I've done over a decade of assessments, and I'm a scholar of self knowledge and self introspection, and just figuring myself out, of self awareness. And with that, I know I have my top 5 strengths in my back pocket, and I think, okay, so how can I apply what I know I'm really good at in order to move me from this inner doubt into inspired action, into keeping on doing the other 1,000 words that I need to do for this week, doing marketing, speaking about the book, whatever are the things that are coming up that are a little uncomfortable. I have this very aligned base to move me towards that action.
I love it. And at the end of the day, this is the conversation. These are the conversations we need to have in order to level up, to be our personal best. And you know what I love to say, what you're reminding me of is, I really believe, it is in my heart, that if you have a gift or a story or a message and you're keeping it to yourself, you're actually being selfish. So I love this honest moment of discussion, like as you write a book, and it's probably what stopped me for all these years from putting it out there. Like, like, and I also have a perfectionist thing, which I know you have as well. And that can take us down to, like, I can't do it unless it's going to be amazing. And so we get ourselves whipped up into a frenzy. But I love that you have,
Sounds like fly mode.
what did you call it? The fly mode. Thank you. Yes. But we get to be bees, and look at the flowers around me here. I actually
That's
have a
right.
next to me. We got to find them. And thank you. And I love that you're a stand for that. And it makes you not only really, really, really lovable, not just likable from the reader's perspective, but I also think it's such a gift. And so, what do you think? And we can close it out with the third message. There are several takeaways, but for you, what really drives it home in the book for people? And what do you think if they get, let's just say, one thing out of it more than the rest? Is it a call for courage and confidence? Tell me.
Yes. Courage for sure. I'm going to also say, really, just being a little bit, like I said before, being a scholar of yourself,
Mm.
dedicating the time, gifting yourself time for introspection and figuring yourself out. Of course, there will be moments when you have to act because you don't have time to think about it and you need to take a decision. But as much as you can, learning about yourself and understanding what your values are, what your mindsets are they serving you? What can you do? You know that with neuroplasticity and the power of our brains to change, you know you can change. You have that agency. How can you make sure that your values, your mindset, your strengths are serving you, are helping you move forward? So with that knowledge about yourself that never ends, that should continue, for the rest of your life. And that's the beauty that
Learning, right?
that's yes. And we get to change our brain and improve and like you say, level up for the rest of our lives. And just being so curious about yourself so that you know what you stand for, this solid base, you have this solid base of aligned values, mindset, and strengths, that you know that no matter what the result is of your action, you come from a place of understanding and confidence.
I love it. And aligned values and strength, I think, just as you were talking, can make somebody unstoppable, right? It's because if we're agreeing that we are the ones that take ourselves down, that if we're working on ourselves and we're continuing to be curious and not judgmental, I love that you brought that up. It's one of my favorite principles in leadership because I think if we're being honest today, a lot of people judging themselves, judging others. What would it look like to let that go, throw it out the door, and just be curious? Like when somebody, even in a leadership role, isn't doing well, I don't judge them. I wonder what's going on in their lives. What could be coming up that might be taking them down? And those are the leadership curious moments, and giving people the benefit of the doubt. And then what is it about me that's so focused on what they are doing right or wrong? Right?
Exactly.
Bringing you back to us for those conversations. And I have to say, writing a book is no small undertaking. If you have a piece of advice for anybody, because you have been so committed, I've been amazed. And I've just put the link that people can go not only to read about your amazing background and your passion for leadership more on your website, but they can get the book. And Beyond Enough this is what we're here to share with everybody. You can't just say, I want to level up my leadership, done. There's no button we press to activate. It's a work in progress. So what an amazing book and gift for everybody that you've put together.
Thank you so much, Meredith. Yes. And I want this to be that, message of self-awareness. And like you said, when you know yourself, you get to open up, like it's a curtain that you can see others. And then you can start realizing exactly what you said. What could be behind that reaction or that behavior in my team? And understanding that with compassion to yourself, you get to have that compassion to others as well. And everything that I spoke about is transferable, maps completely to teams. So when your team has a very clear understanding what the values of the team are, what mindsets do you promise or do you commit to showing up in every project, in every conversation, right? And that when you know the strengths of the team and when that's aligned with the goals of the company, the team is unstoppable.
I love it. Well, we can't get better than unstoppable. So we better get beyond enough. Because that's where I think the magic is. And I always say, put me in my grave. I'm done if I'm finished leveling up. It's like, and I love that you presence that the work is never done. We are always evolving. There is so much that I'm humble enough to know that I don't know. I cannot wait to get a copy of your book. And then I would just say, for somebody who is at the moment where they want to write a book, obviously it hasn't been easy. I mean, maybe you could, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You can share. What do you say to them to inspire? I mean, what has this evoked out of you? Because it can be trying at moments. I'm sure it's been a labor of love, I bet. So tell me, for somebody out there who's watching, like, gosh, I want to write my book and I'm so inspired by your message. What do you say to them? They're just sitting there waiting for the right moment, I think.
Yes. Find your why. Why do you want to put your message across? And really, even if you were thinking, but I mean, my story is not that great. I haven't summoned the Everest 7 times, or have done all of the Ironman, or, rowed across the Atlantic, which we tend to think those are the types of stories that people want to listen to. It's really looking inside and realizing what challenges you have overcome.
I love
Because
it.
there is millions of people out there who are at the beginning of that challenge, at the beginning of that journey. And whatever it is that you have done to overcome in your youth, at work, at a personal level, to overcome something. And it doesn't mean that you need to be an expert. It doesn't mean that you have to know everything about it. But that experience, right? Your mess is your message, your test is your testament. When you're on the other side of that moment, being able to realize, like you said, it's almost a little selfish to keep that knowledge, that those learnings to yourself. It's your duty, for having come to be on the other side of that hump, to go back and say, here's what I can help you with. So the minute you start changing the perspective from focusing on yourself and thinking about me and what is it about my knowledge, and what could I possibly share, and you shift the spotlight onto others, onto that person, similar the way I do it, into that one person who might just need to hear that message, that it is possible, that it's okay to have doubts, and in my case, and throughout the challenging journey that is leadership, then that can be your why. That is the reason why you're going to say, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to commit to myself to write 1,000 words, for the next 3 months, every week, right? And knowing, and this is a really powerful message that I received and that I used, knowing that great books are not written, they're rewritten. So your first draft is going to be a disaster. So embrace that chaos. And I think of those terms. Embrace that mess of the first draft, knowing that what you're doing is you're putting your thoughts, your ideas, your hopes, your wishes onto paper, and that you will get a chance to go back and start refining as you continue having experiences and you think about it. You can take your book on a date, which I love that idea of just feeling out what is the message, why is this important, why does this matter to put out into the world. But truly start with that self-compassion of, you don't have to have a perfect New York's bestseller book out there. Great if it happens, but watch your expectations. Remember, we talked about those crushing expectations of the perfectionists.
Yes.
Just say, what's important about it? Why does it matter that my message, this overcoming of this challenge, reaches somebody else who really needs it?
I love that. And I have to say, I can't even count how many times I always survey my audiences. And I know you and I have talked about this a little bit. And inevitably, the favorite parts, like 99.9% of the time, is when I share adversity and the mistakes that I've made in my lives. And I always say my mistakes have been turned out to be my gifts, because there's a lesson in every single one of them, or the fortune and the failure, any way you want to look at it. So
Yeah.
I love your humble approach, and what really I hear you saying between the lines, which is super inspiring, which is why you shine in everything that you do, is that you don't need to be ready to be ready. You just need to get started, and you can take yourself out of the game if you wait for the right circumstance or the right opportunity, and so on and so on. But if you have an amazing story that you can share, that you've overcome adversity, and this is the final thing I'll say, because I love it when somebody shared it with me once, is that you've overcome your worst day 100% of the time. 100% success rate that you have overcome it. So you wouldn't be here alive if you haven't, no matter what horrific thing it is, right? So you get to be a stand, as you said, for those who are just at the beginning of that nightmare. And if you've made it through, shame on you for not sharing. I think that would be an awesome book, right?
Love it.
Yeah. And I really want to say, there is so much that resonated with me that you shared today. And I think it is a huge gift to the world to remind people that you're not only beyond enough, that there is a framework that you put together in the book that really helps people if they're feeling lost. Let's face it, there are so many people, even if it's for a moment or for a long season that you're in, that have felt that not even the not enoughness, but as you said, a more gentle conversation, just wishing and wanting for more, and maybe not knowing how to get there. And so I really want to applaud you for making your dream come true, for getting the book out. I want to make sure you know, and please make a note that Anna spells her name with one N. So when you log onto her website, we have it on the screen there, AnaLarrea-Albert.com. You make sure you type it in correctly. I cannot wait to get my copy. I hope you will invite me to a book launch party. I understand it's going to be in Florida at some point. Yes?
Yes. So we have a virtual and an in-person. You're absolutely invited. And of course, if anybody buys we're pre-selling the book right now. So it's meant to be published end of the year. Right now, if you jump on board, I have bundles that include the invitation, a ticket to the launch party.
Yay!
You get to be part of my author community, where I actually go through and kind of have a behind the scenes of what this process is about. You get to see some excerpts ahead of time, even be part of the cover conversation, because this is right now what's out there is just something that I did on Canva, but there will be professionals working on the cover, and you're invited to help me with that as well. So
Okay.
I really wanted to be an hour book. It's because I was so inspired by my MBA students when I saw myself reflected in them, in the same questions. And it really didn't matter how many years of experience they had, whether they were in their 20s or their 50s. It was such a universal story that I figured, okay, I think it's time. I've validated my concept. Every time that I coach somebody, what I'm doing, the tools that I'm using, my mindset shifts, they're working. So let's put this out there for everybody to take advantage of.
I love that. And I love that if you catch this early enough, we can't promise that that deal's not going to be on the table for forever, but if you catch it early enough, there are a lot of wonderful bonuses. Thank you for walking us through some of them. And you can see more details on AnaLarrea-Albert.com. And I can't wait to see you at your book launch. I can't wait. It's just an honor to promote this and share your message with the world. And I have to say that Anna is going to be out there not only sharing her book, but she's available for speaking opportunities. She's an amazing keynote speaker as well as workshop facilitator. And it's just an honor to have you on the show. You certainly have a ton of courage and you have an extraordinary shine. And I just wish I could reach out and hug you through the TV, but we can't do that today. So thanks so much for watching. And thank you again, Anna, for really putting your heart and soul into the book and making time to be on the Meredith TV show today.
I love it. Thank you, Meredith.
Have a great one. Okay. Love you back.
Bye.
Bye.